Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanan Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1st, chapter entitled The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, text 14. So please repeat. Suta uvacha evam nishamya bhrugunandana sadhuvadam vaiyasaki sa bhagavanatha vishnuratam pratyarcha krishna charitam kalikalmashagnam vyahartumarabhata bhagavata pradhanaha. Word to word meaning. Suta uvacha. Suta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Nishamya, hearing, Bhrugunandana, O son of the Bhrugu dynasty, Shaunaka, Sadhuvadam, pious questions, Vaiyasakihi, Shukdev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, Saha, he, Bhagavan, the most powerful, Atha, thus, Vishnuratam, unto Parikshit Maharaj, who was always protected by Vishnu. Pratyarcha, offering him respectful obeisances. Krishna Charitam, topics of Lord Krishna. Kali Kalmashagnam, which diminish the troubles of this age of Kali. Vyahartum, to describe. Arabhata, began. Bhagavat Pradhanaha, Shukdev Goswami, the chief among the pure devotees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charna Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Sud Goswami said, O son of Bhrugu, Shaunak Rishi, after Shukdev Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit. He thanked the king with great respect. Then he began to discourse on topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all sufferings in this age of Kali. Purport. In this verse, the words Krishna Charitam Kali Kalmashagnam indicate that the activities of Lord Krishna are certainly the greatest panacea for all miseries, especially in this age of Kali. It is said that in Kali Yuga, people have only short lives and they have no culture of spiritual consciousness. If anyone is at all interested in spiritual culture, he is misled by many bogus swamis and yogis who do not refer to Krishna Katha. Therefore, most people are unfortunate and disturbed by many calamities. Srila Vyasadeva prepared Srimad Bhagavatam at the request of Narad Muni in order to give relief to the suffering people of this age, Kali Kalmashagnam. The Krishna consciousness movement is seriously engaged in enlightening people through the pleasing topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. All over the world, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is being accepted in all spheres of life, especially in advanced educated circles. Srila Shukdev Goswami is described in this verse as Bhagavat Pradhanaha, whereas Maharaj Parikshit is described as Vishnu Ratam. Both words bear the same meaning. That is, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of Krishna, and Shukdev Goswami was also a great saintly person and a great devotee of Krishna. Combined together to present Krishna Katha, they give great relief to suffering humanity. Anarthopashamam sakshat bhakti yodgam adhokshaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the supreme truth. People in general are unaware that the message of Srimad Bhagavatam can give all of human society relief from the pangs of Kali Yuga. Kali Kalmashagnam. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padahan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamshcha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we are discussing daily from 10th canto, and in this series today we are discussing verse 14. So it has been the discussions from last few days, and we began with 10th canto. So as you know, Parikshit began with the questions and his appreciations, his feelings, expression, right from Kathito Vamsha Vistaro Bhavata Soma Suryayo Radnyam Chobhaya Vamshanam Charitam Paramadbhutam. And he was speaking till the last verse. In this particular context, he spoke up to verse 13. So Parikshit's speech is over here, and now Shukdev Goswami begins to speak. So in all these 13 verses, he expressed amazing qualities, expressed amazing appreciation, eagerness to speak. His not being troubled by hunger and thirst. That's how he ended with. So that's why we'll see first the verse and then we'll discuss Prabhupada's purport in detail. Evam nishamya bhrugunandana sadhuvadam. So such was the beautiful speech of Parikshit Maharaj that's called as sadhuvada. It was a very, very beautiful questions, appropriate questions. Samichinam prashnam sadhuvada. Very samichin, very appropriate questions, feelings were expressed by him. And that's how when this was heard by Shukdev Goswami, evam nishamya, in this way when he heard this, O Bhrugunandana, that's for Shaunaka, he is the descendant of Bhrugu. So sadhuvadam, actually when he heard this beautiful speech, beautiful questions by Parikshit, so he was very happy. Sanatana Goswami says that he literally said, sadhu, sadhu, wonderful, that is sadhuvad. Wow, what questions, right? We say sadhu, sadhu, not as O sage, but this is wonderful speech. Sadhu, well said, well said. Like that he said. Sadhuvadam. Vaiyasaki sa Bhagavan atha Vishnu Ratam. Then began to speak the great Vaiyasaki. Vaiyasaki is son of Vyasa. Vyasasya patyam. Veda Vyasanat Vyasa. Because Vyasa divided Veda, Vyasana is distribution or dividing. So Veda Vyasanat, Vyasana, so Vyasa. And from Vyasa comes Vaiyasaki. Vyasasya patyam puman becomes Vaiyasaki. Like that. So that is Vaiyasaki. Sa Bhagavan atha Vishnu Ratam. He is also said to be that Shukadev, and also Bhagavan Shukadev. These are all the qualifiers for Shukdev Goswami. Vaiyasaki, Bhagavan, Sa, and also one more in the end, Bhagavat Pradhana. This is all for Shukdev Goswami. Vishnu Ratam, he began to speak to whom? Vishnu Rata, that is Parikshit. Parikshit is well known as Vishnu Rata. Shukdev is well known as Brahma Rata. And Parikshit is known as Vishnu Rata. One who was protected by Lord Vishnu and one who was protected by Brahma, that is again by Lord Vishnu, that is Krishna. Shukdev was also protected by Lord, you remember that story of Brahma Vaivarth Puran, in which he was not ready to come out of the womb, but Lord said, no, I will protect you from Maya. So offering that protection to him in the form of promise to be not getting entangled in Maya is the name that is signified by Brahmarat. That's the meaning of Brahmarat. This is explained by Acharyas in the commentaries. And here is Vishnu Rata, Parikshit, who is actually protected by Lord Vishnu very clearly in the episode of he being protected from Ashwathama's Brahmastras. Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikalma Shagnam. So, Vaiyasaki, Pratyarcha, he actually, he also offered his respects, his obeisances, his appreciation for Parikshit's questions and Parikshit, he also offered his respects. Amazing. Sadhu, sadhu. I offer my respects to you for asking such wonderful questions and for having such an attitude that you have shown in your words. Pratyarcha, that is there. Krishna Charitam Kalikalma Shagnam Vyahartum Arabhata. Arabhata is began. Vyahartum is to describe. He began to describe what? Krishna Charitam, he began to describe the activities of Lord Krishna, And they are known as Kali Kalma Shagnam. They are the destroyer of all evils of Kali Yuga. So this was begun to be described by the great Vaiyasaki, who is Bhagavat Pradhana, the chief among the pure devotees of the Lord, So what Prabhupada does is, Prabhupada writes in a typical orthodox traditional style purport, where he just takes 3 words and speaks about it. This is a standard style of commentators, where you go by Mukhya Vritti in the explanation of the purport. You say what this word means, what this word means, what this word means. That's it. That's the purport. So he speaks about Krishna Charitam, Kali Kalma Shagnam. He speaks about Vishnu Rata, and he speaks about Bhagavat Pradhana. These 3 words he focuses. This is the style. In some other places, Prabhupada goes by Vyanjita Vritti, not by Mukhya Vritti. You know, there are three vrittis called Mukhya Vritti, Gauna Vritti and Vyanjita Vritti. If there is a certain word that is to be spoken on, then you can speak about its direct meaning. If direct meaning doesn't make sense, then you speak about its indirect meaning. And then if that also doesn't make sense, then you speak about what is implied, Vyanjita Vritti, you know. So this is there discussed by Shilajiv Goswami in Bhagavad Sandarbha in great details, when he talks about Bhagavan and its meaning, how Bhagavan is understood. Like here the word is there, that's why I'm bringing that discussion. Bhagavan is also used here by Srila Sud Goswami. So when you say about Bhagavan in relation to Lord, that's understanding Bhagavan in Mukhya Vritti. When it is spoken for a devotee, like Shukdev, it's not by Mukhya Vritti, it's by Gauna Vritti, because direct meaning will mean Supreme Lord. So what's the other meaning, you know? And then he defines Bhagavan for that. So Bhagavan has another definition also. Usually whenever you talk about devotees, that's the definition you refer for Bhagavan, not Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashashriya Jnana Vairagyaschopi Shannam iti Shannam Bhagaitingana, not that one. The other one, we'll see that also. Okay, so talking about Sadhuvada, I will surely discuss Prabhupada's words and explanation of all these particular words. So just throwing some light also on other words of verse, and then coming to the main discussion of those three words by Prabhupada. Sadhuvada, Parikshit's words are known to be, or said to be, very appropriate words. Samichin Prashnam, appropriate, apropos questions, So what does this mean actually? So if you analyze this whole series of 13 verses which he spoke, it has reflected amazing qualities by Parikshit, which show an ideal attitude of what a hearer should be, what an audience should be, right? So primarily I was analyzing this, and then you can see that, in the first Kathito Vamsha Vissaro, from that up to the verse of Pashugna. So he spoke about his great eagerness to hear, and especially his great eagerness to hear in details, right? So this is a very important factor for those who are listeners of Bhagavatam, that they are eager to hear the details, Oftentimes, whenever we want to speak, people, they say, okay, Prabhuji, what's the point? Please tell in brief, right? You have heard this oftentimes. You are trying to explain something, people say, oh, okay, what's the point? Can you tell in simple words? Well, why in simple words? What is this idea where actually Krishna Katha, something, elaborate tattva you are speaking, or elaborate details are speaking, and you say, what's the point? Like that. Well, point is, you hear the details. That's the point, actually. That's the point, that you should also hear all the details. In Krishna consciousness, whatever we hear, whatever we speak about Krishna, that itself purifies. Madhvacharya says there are three different ways the Shastra is understood. One is the literal meaning, second is the ethical meaning, and then the third is the figurative meaning he talks about. There is the direct meaning which is there of Shastra, which is the truth there. Krishna lifted Govardhan, means he lifted Govardhan, nothing else. Not that we are talking about a person defying gravity or something, like that. No, he lifted Govardhan means he lifted Govardhan. So hear it first, the direct meaning. That itself will purify you so much, So sometimes we see that there is some kind of reluctance in hearing the details. When you talk about details of Krishna Charit, people are like, okay, when is this going to end? Because then after that real stuff will come, some point to be applied or some point to be understood from this. No, so that should not be the case. Of course, we have to draw lessons from Krishna's pastime, Krishna Charit and all that. But that explanation of the pastime itself, the details, that itself is also application. Hearing itself is an application, actually. And additionally, if you draw lessons and try to imbibe them in life, that is wonderful. We should do it like that. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever some tattva is being discussed or Krishna's Leelas is being discussed, as devotees, as serious devotees, we should not be averse to hearing details. No. We should be in fact very happy to hear the details. Just as here Parikshit is saying that, Tanno vada vistarat, vistar se boliye. I want to hear in great details like that. Otherwise, sometimes the idea is there that, in initial days we come to Krishna consciousness where we feel enlivened by hearing about, jokes and comedies and some stuff in Krishna consciousness, right? Like we say, maja aa gaya class. It was wonderful. Why? Because he cracked a lot of jokes and made, everybody laugh and all that. So actually, as we grow in bhakti, we should not be so much hankering for jokes and comedy. Krishna consciousness naturally had jokes. That's fine. That it has natural humor. We are not against it. But sometimes, even after spending a lot of years in Krishna consciousness, what person wants is actually only some masala, some jokes and comedy, and not the real stuff of Krishna consciousness like that. So that should not be the case. Like you see, there are some children sometimes, right? So in childhood, if you want to make a child laugh, you tickle him. Tickling, you understand? Gudgudi karna. Tickle. Tickling. Child starts laughing when you tickle him like that. So when he is child, you tickle him and he is laughing and everybody says, child is so happy, wonderful. Now when the child grows and becomes into a man and his definition of happiness remains that tickling, whenever he wants to be happy, please tickle me. And then he is very happy. You see that. Why? Because he is getting tickled, so he is happy. So then people will wonder whether he has grown or not. This fellow still is happy only by tickling only. Actually, as you grow, you are not supposed to be happy by tickling, right? You are supposed to be happy by something much glorious in life, even talking in completely mundane terms, he should be a responsible student or a corporate, and he's achieving his goals and he's becoming successful in life, and that's the source of his happiness. Then people also will accept that, yes, this person is actually is grown and he's mature and he's accomplished. So same way, in Krishna consciousness, as we grow, we should also not be happy by mental tickling of comedy and jokes. Physical tickling is that gudgudi, but mental tickling is this jokes and this comedy or all this stuff, data and all that. Again, what I'm saying is, Krishna's Leela itself has natural humor. We are not against it. We are most happy and delightful. Like the other day we were discussing Madhumangal. Is there no humor? Oh, fantastic humor is there, like that. But sometimes a Krishna Katha's whole criterion to be judged is how much people laughed in it. Well, then we should put it as a joker show rather than some serious Krishna Katha. So my point is coming to, we should not be worried about hearing the details. We should be eager to hear the details. And details do involve some kind of intellectual effort. Details, whether it is Krishna Katha, in the sense of pastimes, or it's tattva, they do involve intellectual effort, and we should be ready for it. Our acharyas who relish that kind of, like Prabhupada or, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or whoever, just as they relish Krishna Katha, with a great delight, they relish also Krishna tattva. When they start speaking on philosophical aspects, they do relish that. And great details they speak about. Hair-splitting philosophy they will speak about, like that. And we are happy. We may understand something, we may not understand. But it's not the case that where we feel, oh, details, why so many details? Just speak in brief. Thoda sa bolo, like that. No. This is not a sign of a very serious kind of person. The whole aspect of speaking as per time, place, circumstances, and people can understand it, that's another topic. I'm not going into that. That also has to be catered to. You should speak in a way that people can understand it. But especially I'm talking about as people advance in Krishna consciousness, we are very happy to hear the details of Krishna Katha, Krishna Leela, Krishna Tattva, everything else. And details do involve an effort, and we are happy to put that particular effort in this particular way. So this is his eagerness to hear the great details, like that. And if you see further, he is also expressing, in this particular verse of Pashugna, who else will be satiated from hearing Krishna Katha except a butcher? So he's actually also showing his great enthusiasm to hear and also great eagerness to hear. How he wants to also not be satiated, completely reassuring Shukadev that he is happy to hear in great details, like that. So, if you see in that particular verse we had discussed about, he himself is putting him, this Parikshit is putting himself into the category of Bhukti Ichchu, Vishaya Ichchu, right? So that's actually humility on his part. So his words are also reflecting a great humility, isn't it? Humility and gratitude. The next three verses which, Pitamaha me samaram samare amaranjaye, those speak about his gratitude, So humility and gratitude is also needed in an audience actually, because, sometimes we want to sit in a class, but we want to sit in a very challenging spirit. Let's see what he speaks, how much he has read, like that. That's actually not the ideal thing. We have to do pariprashna, we have to hear in a very humble, submissive spirit, like that. Otherwise, we won't get benefited much. So I am grateful for the opportunity to hear. Whatever opportunity is here is a person who is sharing Krishna Katha with me, with whatever level of knowledge and realization he has. But it's a great benediction on me that I am getting to hear Krishna Katha. So we want to emulate that spirit. Of course, it's not easy. I am also speaking so that I can improve. But what I'm trying to say is, especially in being an audience, it's very important that we have that humility and gratitude towards the speaker, because we are getting to hear. Otherwise, we may not benefit much, even though he may speak something which is very valuable, but then because we have that blockage of such an attitude, so we may not be able to benefit from it, like that. On the other way, if we have this kind of attitude, even if speaker is not a fantastic speaker, you see Krishna will inspire in such a way that you will always carry home something from that class, saying, yeah, I never heard this, or it never struck me. This was so wonderful that I got this particular point from this class. So that is the second aspect of Parikshit's Sadhuvada. Also, after that, he asks 5 questions. 5 verses talk about his questions. That is from 8 to 12. And these are very specific questions, right? You have seen that. How he asked very specific questions about Balramji's transference to the womb of Rohini. So it proves that whatever he has heard before, because all those questions are related to also 9th canto, whenever Shukdev was described, it proves that he was attentive, very attentive in what he was speaking, because he was saying that you once said that Balramji is Rohini's Tanaya, but again you counted him in Devaki's sons also. So Rohini's son also, Devaki's son also. How is this? Kuto dehantaram vina. So very clear. He remembers what he spoke, and accordingly he is asking questions. So this is also needed actually for an audience of Bhagavatam. They have to be attentive to what is being spoken, right? Sometimes you see some questions are asked, and you just answered that question to the prior person, and then the next person asks the same question. So complete. You can see that this person was not at all attentive, or probably he could not understand. But many times the attention is not there. What is being spoken to that? And that's how same thing is asked, which is actually already spoken or described. Like, of course, you may ask for an elaboration. You may say, I heard you said this, so I just want an elaboration on this. That is a point of understanding. But sometimes attention is only not there. One time, one person asked me a question in Bhagavatam class. And he asked a question, and people ask questions for different reasons, right? Sometimes people ask questions just to impress, that you see, I can ask such a question, like that. So he asked the question, and he kept the mic down and went away. That's it. He asked the question and went away. His job was to ask questions, so he did it, and he left it, like that. And I'm wondering, because I have to answer, no? Who am I supposed to answer? And he's smiling, all smiles at people, and went away. So I was wondering, just see, what is this attitude? He's asking question just so that people feel, oh, okay, he's learned with talking some bombastic question, like that. So this is not the ideal thing, actually. This is surely not recommended. One should ask questions that those are appropriate based on what he has heard nicely, attention is there, and appropriate questions are asked, so that one is able to, appreciate, relish, and even the audience also understands that, yes, this is a wonderful question which is asked like that. So pertinent questions are needed, very appropriate questions are needed. We try to hear attentively, and we also ask the appropriate questions, which will inspire the speaker. That is Parikshit actually. So that's why Sadhuvada. And finally he speaks also, Naishati dussaha kshunmam tyaktodam api badhate. We heard about that also yesterday. So finally he also speaks that I am not bothered by distractions. I am not bothered by the challenges of hunger and thirst and all that. So this is also his great resolve to hear, So sometimes we see that we get so much distracted in the class by small things also, right? Some lizard comes on the wall, everybody is watching that lizard, like that. In the classroom, some lizard is walking, and everybody is walking, seeing as if there is a dinosaur in the classroom, like that. So some problem with sound system, and then everybody is like 10-15 minutes just watching at the sound system person, like that. Or worse could be where we are talking about not being bothered by distractions. The other side of it is we sleep so terribly in the class, and we are actually not bothered at all whether whether I hear something, or whether at least I strive to get up and hear something like that. So here he is, Parikshit, where he is not bothered about distractions. And if we don't have even the simple sense of actually getting up or walking, if we feel sleepy in the class, then actually that's an antithesis of what Parikshit is speaking over here. So surely we should make sure that we show that resolve to hear. If we feel sleepy, which could be for genuine reasons, because of not getting rest in the night or anything else, we get up, we walk, so that we are also, behind, not in front of speaker, and so that we show our resolve, So we may not be able to say Naishati dussaha kshunmam, but at least we show our resolve in terms of, not sleeping or not being inattentive or like that. So those are the wonderful qualities with which Parikshit Maharaj's words were embellished with. And that's why Sadhuvada, it's not just like that. It has reflected his wonderful qualities, and it has also reflected very wonderful attentive hearing, appropriate questions. And that's why Parikshit, Shukdev became extremely delighted with his questions, and Pratyarcha, he thanked him, said sadhu, sadhu, in this particular way. Vaiyasaki is, as I was saying, that because his Vyasa's putra, it carries the sense of, Vaiyasaki carries the sense that whatever has been asked to him by Parikshit, he is very much capable to speak on it, because he is none other than the Vyasadev's son, one who compiled all the Vedic literatures. He knows all the truth of Vedic literature. In fact, he is the person for whom Vyasadev, gave the responsibility of Srimad Bhagavatam and its propagation. He chose Shukdev to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So by saying Vaiyasaki, Sut Goswami is telling this amazing qualification of Shukdev to speak on this matter. He is the best person, in fact, to speak on it, being the son of great Vyasadeva and the chosen one to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. He is also speaking about Bhagavan. This word Bhagavan is there for Shukdev Goswami. So actually Bhagavan is used, and this is a big topic in Bhagavad Sandarbha, which you will learn. So Bhagavan word is used especially for Lord or his great devotees also. So whenever it's used for Lord, Srila Jiva Goswami says that you apply the definition of Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashashriya. Those 6 opulences in full and for eternity, one who has, that is Bhagavan. But whenever it is used for great devotees like Bhagavan Narada, Bhagavan Shukadev, Bhagavan, in many other personalities in Bhagavatam. So in such cases, the primary meaning of Bhagavan, which is the possessor of 6 opulences, And it's a great discussion. I'm not going into that. But he says that primary meaning is not taken, but the secondary meaning is taken. And what is that? Who is known as Bhagavan? Vishnu Puran gives another definition of Bhagavan. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha bhutanam agatim gatim. Vetti vidyam avidyam cha savacho Bhagavan iti. Who is known as Bhagavan? Savacho Bhagavan. Use Bhagavan कहते हैं. Who? Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha bhutanam agatim gatim. One who is thoroughly realized, one who thoroughly understands what is the path of bondage and what is the path of liberation. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. How the jivas are bound and how the jivas are liberated. One who thoroughly understands this. Jivanam agatim gatim. Agati, coming in this world or staying in this world. Pravritti. Gati, destination. That is nivritti. So one who understands this path of the path of bondage and the path of liberation, as well as Veti vidyam avidyam cha, and one who also knows vidya and avidya in thorough details. What is vidya, what is avidya, and all the different brands of it. Like that. Such a person is called as Bhagavan. He says. So this is the typical definition that is applied for Bhagavan whenever it comes to the devotees being called as Bhagavan. Of course, Prabhupada gives a general sense also, in the sense that devotee is to be honored or respected as good as Bhagavan. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. So from that angle also he is known as Bhagavan, like that. So that's absolutely, perfect, where Prabhupada says about respecting a devotee as good as Lord and devotee being equally honorable. But specifically, Bhagavan, as per Srila Jiva Goswami, especially for the jivas, this definition is applied. So that's one of the insights on the word Bhagavan, like that. We come to the word which Prabhupada speaks about, Vishnu Rata, So Vishnuna Ratam iti Vishnu Rata. Vishnu ke dwara jo Ratam is Dattam. Vishnu ke dwara jo diye gaye. One who was given by Vishnu as gift, he is Vishnu Rata. Actually, this is amazing definition. Because you see, this is there in Srimad Bhagavatam's first canto. Daivena pratighatena shukle samstham upeyushiv. Rato va anugraharthaya Vishnuna prabha Vishnuna. Tasman loke Vishnurat namna sah bhavishyati. This is from 12th chapter of first canto. It is being spoken by those Brahmanas who are predicting about Parikshit. And they are telling why he will be known as Vishnu Rata. So they are actually telling that because he was protected by Lord, in the womb. Shukle samstham upeyushi. Actually, he was destroyed. Samstham upeyushi. He was completely finished in the womb, but still he was revived by the Lord. Samstha means destruction, that. So that's why he was known as Vishnu Rata, because Lord literally revived him. Ratam can also mean Rakshitam, So why he was, Prabhupada says in purport, why he was protected, for two reasons Parikshit was protected. Because one is Anugraharthaya. Lord was so happy with Yudhishthir Maharaj. He loved Yudhishthir Maharaj so much, that of this Yudhishthir's Vamsha, this is the last Tantu. This is the last year of this Yudhishthir's kingdom. So Lord's love for Yudhishthir was so much that he didn't want that his particular descendant gets destroyed. So that's why Lord protected him. This is one reason why Vishnu Rata. Another reason Prabhupada speaks is because Shukle, in that verse is there. Shukle, because he was a spotless devotee of the Lord. Shukla is spotless. Because he was a pure devotee of the Lord, right from his appearance in the womb, he was a great pure devotee of the Lord. So that's why Lord protected him. Shukle and Anugraharthaya. So that is Vishnu Ratam, like that. Or Ratam can also mean Svikritam. Ratam means Atam, means Svikritam. He was accepted by Lord as his own. Lord accepted him as my own person, That's why you remember the Ashwathama sent the Brahmastras and it split into 6 arrows. 5 arrows were for Pandavas, 1 arrow was for Parikshit. So Lord protected those Pandavas by 5 arrows by throwing Sudarshanena Swastrena Swanam Raksham Vyadhat Vibhu. For Pandavas he threw Sudarshan, but for Parikshit he Swagadaya, he went inside the womb and protected Parikshit by himself toiling to protect him by moving about his gada like that. Of course, Pandavas are also the very great devotees of the Lord. It's not about comparison, but the point is about Parikshit's was accepted as Lord took it as my responsibility to go and protect him. Personally, I should go and protect him. So this is Vishnu Rat. Actually, this is the sense. Vishnuna Svikritam, Vishnuna Attam, one who has accepted by Vishnu as his own. That is Vishnu Rat. Like that. Coming to Bhagavat Pradhana, another word Prabhupada which explains. So, Bhagavat Pradhana is the chief amongst the pure devotees, and this is a meaning by Sridhar Swami. Now, Sanatana Goswami also takes another meaning where he says that Bhagavat Pradhan, yani jinke liye Bhagavat hi Pradhan tha. For him, Bhagavat was the chief scripture, That is Bhagavat Pradhan, For him, Bhagavatam was everything, all in all, Right? We remember this famous shlok. Harer gunakshiptamatir Bhagavan Badrayani Adhyagat Mahad Akyanam Nityam Vishnu Jana Priya. Right? Nityam Adhyagat. Once Shukdev was transformed by those 2 verses of woodcutters, which were sung by Vyasadev's disciples. Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam. And the other is the beauty of the Lord. What's that? Barha Pidam Natavara Karnayo Karnikaram, Bibhrat Vasa Kanaka Kapisham, Vaijayantim Chamalam, Randhran Venodar. Beautiful verse, When he was knocked off by these 2 verses, went back and studied only Bhagavatam. That's it. Nityam Adhyagat. That's the meaning of that. He studied only Bhagavatam, and Bhagavatam became his life and soul. So that's why Sanatana Goswami says, by saying Bhagavat Pradhana, here what it means is, actually, although in the audience of Parikshit Maharaj, there were also different sages with different conception, ideas, Brahmavadis, some of them also, some other, followers of some other path, Jnana and, yoga and all that. Still he decided to speak about Bhagavat. Why? Because that was the scripture, that was all in all for him. Yeah, because he took it as his life and soul. So although the people were of all different statures, but he spoke Bhagavatam only because he knew that that's the highest scripture. Of course, he spoke in a way that they can also understand and they can also appreciate. He didn't speak the most confidential parts of Bhagavatam and all. Like he avoided the name of Radharani and all that. So that explanation is also there by Sanatana Goswami. But the point is, he spoke Bhagavatam. When Parikshit asked him, Atha Sadho, no, what's that? What's the basically duty of a dying man and a man who is Purushasya yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvada, right? Atha pruchhami samsiddhim, like that he said. So I ask this perfection where I say that Purushasya yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvata. Mriyamanasya purushasya yat karyam, marne wale purush ka kya kartavya hai aur sarvada purush ka kya kartavya hai. He asked this thing. And then in that, he could have chosen to speak on any topic, but he chose on Srimad Bhagavatam. This is because Bhagavat Pradhana, because he was completely conquered by Bhagavatam. We see this. And then finally, we also come to the Prabhupada's Kali Kalmasha Gnam. Prabhupada explains this. Prabhupada, as I was saying, he's talking about 3 words. So the last word which he speaks in the initial part of purport is Kali Kalmashagnam. And what Prabhupada does is, he first talks about the evils of Kali. He talks about Prayana Alpayusha Sabhya Kala Vasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hupadruta. So people of Kali Yuga, he says that they have these faults, right? First and foremost, they are Alpayusha. They have very short lives. Somebody has little bit long life, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if he has little bit long life, then, Prayana Alpayusha Sabhya, then what is the problem? Manda, he is Manda. Actually, he is very lazy to understand spiritual life. So has got some good span of life, but he is very lazy to understand spiritual life. Somebody is not lazy, he is quite active. But then the Sumanda Matayo, he is Nirbuddhaya. He doesn't have intelligence to understand. He is little bit enthusiastic, but kya kare? Although he is enthusiastic, he is not able to understand anything because not much buddhi. Sumanda Matayo. And then somebody has intelligence also, but then Manda Bhagya. He is misguided by so many bogus leaders, swamis and all that his intelligence goes in some different direction only. And then that Guru, bogus Swami was a speculator. This fellow is super duper speculator. All of them open the school of speculations like that. So that is Manda Bhagya, like that. And even if somebody gets a genuine Sadhu Sangha association, Tadrish Sadhu Sangha, he achieves also, then Upadrita. That fellow is so disturbed that even if he has association, even if he has good sadhus to hear from, even if he has opportunity to render service, bechara itna disturbed hai life mein, by physical maladies, by mental maladies, by intellectual maladies. He is so troubled that, no hope for him. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says he is never able to ascertain his goal of life and what he should do. And he's just bewildered, like that. So that's actually Kali Yuga. Or he says you can add this all, in addition to one another. That's also the way this verse is explained. Means you say somebody is lazy, he is also, short-lived. Also, he is not intelligent. Also, he is Mandabhagya. And also he is, most disturbed. You can also speak in addition. If not, nahin, also in addition. So actually, Kali Yugas, these evils are destroyed by Krishna Katha. If you take each one of this, Alpayusha, Manda, Sumanda, Matayo, Manda, Bhagya, Upadrita, Krishna consciousness is one stroke solution for each one of them. See, panacea, Prabhupada is very precise in his words of English language. Panacea, when it says, what is panacea actually? It's one stroke solution medicine for all the diseases. Okay, one medicine. It comes from Greek, Panakia, which is a Greek goddess of universal medicine. One goddess which will give medicine for all. So panacea literally means actually one, which is the one medicine which can cover every disease. Sarva Roga Mula, Sarva Roga Nivrutti, like that. So that is Krishna consciousness. If we are short-lived, Bhagavat says, no problem, Kim pramattasya bahubir parokshir hayane riha varam muhurtam viditam ghatate shreyase yata. What is the use of living for so many long years if somebody is living like a pramatta? Better to live one moment of quality life, by which one can achieve the Supreme Lord's favor. So in Kali Yuga, people might be short-lived, no problem. That's why Khatvanga's example is also quoted by Shukadev. Khatvango nama raja shidnatva yahtam yahayusha muhurtat sarvam utsrijya gatvan abhayam hari. He says. So Bhagavatam, the great problem or the great defect of Alpayusha is solved by Bhagavatam. Then if you come to Manda, somebody is not very enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna Charita is heard in the association of Vaishnavas. Even if somebody is Manda, lazy, devotees will make sure that he becomes enthusiastic, right? Sooner or later he becomes enthusiastic. So that's the point. Devotees are very expert in making everybody very enthusiastic, like that. So you might be lazy in your own life, in your own cozy environment, but if you are in association, there are people who are your well-wishers and they'll make sure you don't stay lazy, right? Like that. Then if you are Sumanda Matayo, you are not very intelligent, you don't understand things and all that. But Krishna Charita is so wonderful actually. Just by hearing Krishna Charita, so many aspects of Tattva, Sadhana and Leela, Rasa are there that just by hearing person becomes knowledgeable, right? We see that. Shravan, just by Shruti Parayana, Krishna says in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So people, just by hearing Krishna consciousness, they actually become quite intelligent, quite great speakers of Bhagavad. In Pune, we had a devotee who joined as a driver of sumo, vehicle. He used to drive vehicles. And he began his seva like that. And then eventually he became brahmachari. And whenever he used to drive and all that, he used to hear from whoever is, the guest, Okay, he used to ask him something and he used to hear from. And also he used to hear classes and all that. And he is one of the best speakers on Bhagavatam in Pune now, like that. One who started as a driver of, Why? Just by hearing actually. Completely by hearing. He is not a very, he can't read very fast and he's not an English speaker and all that. So just by hearing, but so much he heard that practically you can say he's a fabulous speaker, fantastic speaker. So that's Krishna consciousness. Also the Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya. Yes, Krishna consciousness, whoever comes in Krishna consciousness, they become the most fortunate, right? Most intelligent, Sumedhasa, and also most fortunate. And finally, Upadritaha. These are the people who are, Krishna consciousness also frees you from mental disturbances, physical disturbances, because that's the nature of Krishna Katha. Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam, Krishne Paramapurushe, Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsam Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. So our Shoka, Moha and Bhaya, that disturbance goes away by Krishna consciousness because it gives you a higher goal in life. See, problem is when you don't have a higher goal in life, then you get disturbed by the lower things in life, right? But when we have a higher goal in life, what happens is we are able to cross over that disturbance and focus on the higher goal like that, If that is not there, naturally mind will go back to the disturbance. So that's why in our life also we should take the inventory of this. Are we working for some service to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and all that, for which we can remain focused? If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything, it is said, like that. So that's why we have to stand for something, for some service or services, many. And then we will see that we will be able to overcome this upadrita thing. So that's what is the explanation on all these aspects of. So I thank you all very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.